The Haunting of Yomi Town. Yumi Tanaka stood at the threshold of the old Hartfield Manor, her breath crystallizing in the cold night air. The manor's decaying frame loomed ominously under a shroud of thick fog, casting elongated shadows that danced eerily in the moonlight. It had been vacant for decades, yet tonight she felt an unrelenting pull drawing her inside. Clutching her flashlight, Yumi hesitated for a moment before pushing the creaking door open. The hinges groaned in protest, echoing through the decrepit halls. Her footsteps were a series of muffled thuds on the dusty wooden floor, blending with the distant whispers of the past. The manor's oppressive silence wrapped around her, amplifying every creak and sigh of the ancient building. As she ventured further, Yumi's senses tingled with the foreboding presence of unseen eyes watching her. They seemed to linger in the corners, just beyond the reach of her flashlight's beam. She felt the weight of history bearing down on her, making her movements sluggish, as if wading through an invisible mire. It was the diary's ominous hints that had led her here, the cryptic messages scrawled in faded ink, detailing a series of disappearances dating back centuries. Her ancestor, Aiko Tanaka, had been the last entry. "The manor calls to me. I sense an ancient evil. It hungers." The air seemed to grow heavier and colder with each step, and Yumi's heart drummed against her ribs as she reached the grand staircase. Each step of the staircase moaned underfoot, resonating through the darkened house. Halfway up, her flashlight flickered, then went out entirely, plunging her into a murky blackness. Fear clawed at her throat, but Yumi closed her eyes, forcing herself to breathe. She remembered her grandmother's tales, the whispers of spirits trapped within the manor's walls, eternally bound to their tormentor. Summoning her courage, she continued up the stairs, guided only by the faint luminescence filtering through a grimy window. Reaching the top, Yumi found herself facing a foreboding corridor. The wallpaper, once elegant, now peeled in long strips, revealing dark, mouldy tendrils beneath. She moved forward, pushed on by unseen hands, or perhaps her own stubborn will to uncover the truth. A luminous glow peeked from a room at the end of the hall, pale and cold against the darkness. It was the library, a place her grandmother had mentioned only in hushed tones. The door swung open on its own, revealing rows of ancient tomes cloaked in dust. But it was the object on the center table that captured her attention. A gilded mirror, its surface rippling like water. Yumi approached the mirror cautiously. Her reflection stared back, yet something felt off. The room's chill grew unbearable, and the air hummed with an unseen energy. Shadows twisted and morphed in the corners of her vision. She saw movement within the mirror, faces distorted by agony and fear, pressed against the glass, silently screaming. Transfixed by the ethereal glow, Yumi didn't notice the figure materializing behind her until a cold breath brushed her neck. She spun around, the beam from her relit flashlight piercing the darkness to reveal nothing. The shadows, however, seemed to pulsate and close in, whispering her name in a chorus of tormented voices. "Yumi! Yumi! Join us!" In the mirror, a shadowed woman appeared, Aiko Tanaka, her eyes hollow and pleading. No longer alone, a multitude of anguished souls surrounded her. As she reached out, the mirror's surface seemed to stretch, distorting reality. Yumi fought back the rising panic. With trembling hands, she lifted the diary and recited an old incantation she had found on its final page. The words faltered on her lips, but determination steeled her voice. The oppressive air vibrated around her, resonating with unseen power. A violent gust swept through the library, rattling the shelves and extinguishing her flashlight once more. The glow intensified, and the spirits seemed to wail in defiance. The mirror cracked, splintering into 1,000 reflections, each fragment capturing a piece of the trapped soul's suffering. In one blinding flash, the mirror shattered, scattering shards like stardust. The library fell silent. The stifling cold lifted, leaving behind an eerie tranquility. Yumi dropped to her knees, heart pounding in her ears, knowing instinctively that she had freed them. The spirits lingered momentarily, their whispers turning to faint expressions of gratitude before dissipating into the ether. Among them, Aiko's presence lingered the longest. Her tormented visage softened, a sad smile touching her lips before fading into the night. Yumi exited Hartfield Manor as dawn's first light broke over the horizon, feeling the weight of history lift from her shoulders. She had uncovered the truth, and in doing so, released her family's legacy from its ghostly chains. The town's dark history still murmured from the shadows, but she knew now that the spirits had found peace, even if she never truly would. As she walked back to her family's antique shop, Yumi couldn't shake the feeling that Hartfield Manor wasn't done with her. Perhaps one day its ghosts would call her back again. For now, she was content with knowing she had made a difference, even if it meant living in a world where the lines between the living and the dead were forever blurred.